Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's educational topic. And today we are going to be talking nutrition. Okay, so this is such a huge topic and there are so many million things that we could dive into for this. And also there's such a unique and personal touch that really comes with nutrition. So I do talk quite general about this topic unless you want to dive deeper personally and we can start to nut out a few things. But otherwise, we're going to go through and cover how to create a nutritionally healthy lifestyle and ways that you can really elevate this. I guess elevate it to the next level, but at the same time grounding into that sustainable habits. But you know, it's more than sustainable habits. It's actually that it becomes so ingrained in your lifestyle that it no longer becomes something that you do, it becomes who you are. And that has been such a journey for us, that living a healthy lifestyle is something that we've always done. But as we've dove deeper into different elements, as we've added new habits, as we've learned new things, the very beginning of that journey is now just so ingrained, or those earlier healthy habits that are still relevant, are so ingrained as part of our lifestyle that it's easy for us to forget that not everyone does it. We forget that not everyone has a cold shower or does some cold water therapy or does some meditative breathing as part of their day, all of these kinds of things, that not everyone just adds mushroom powder to their or bone broth to their foods and things like that. So it's really we have to keep reminding ourselves that what it is that we teach has just become so much of a part of our lifestyle that for you, it can also be that, regardless of you wanting to be a health professional, just in your everyday life, it becomes so ingrained into, I guess, who you are, or a deep value of that for yourself. Okay, so what we're going to look at today. So today we're going to touch on looking at nutrition as a complete health plan. We're going to look at nutrition versus calories. We're going to, is that lighting going to be a bit better if I come closer? We're going to look at, we're going to touch on gut health, or kind of a little bit of nutrition's impact all over the body. We're going to talk how to include more nutrients and increase the nutrient density consistently, how much food to eat, the golden question, touch on the eating styles, and then if you want to dive deeper again, reach out and we can dive a bit deeper personally. So even on each of those topics, it is going to be quite brief, but I want you guys to drop in the comments, tell us in the comments what parts of this you find relevant or what you would like us to dive deeper on, because over the next coming weeks within the challenge, we can expand on any of those topics that are relevant to you. I wanted to touch on these to kind of open your eyes and go, okay, well, there is so much available to it. And nutrition is so not a straightforward thing for us that I do find it hard to teach on unless I'm drilling down on something specific. But we only have so much time. So I'm going to kind of touch over the overview, but please drop in the comments which parts you find most interesting, which you would like me to expand more on, and I will do that. Stay tuned, because over the coming weeks, maybe months, but over the coming weeks, I will be looking for people who are wanting to dive very much deeper, as I will be undergoing further studies, just to throw that on top of my plate. So as a little I haven't told anyone yet, this is in the works. So whilst I'm busy applying for that, let's jump in. Okay, so let's talk nutrition as a complete health plan. So it is really, really critical that we look at nutrition and we look at food. So when I talk nutrition for today, for these purposes, when I talk nutrition or diet, I'm talking about food in general, or I'm talking about our food habits as such. When I talk diet, I'm talking our food habits, not a specific diet as such. So we're looking at nutrition or food as a complete health plan, as a complete part of our healthy lifestyle. So that in itself, not singularly. So what I mean by that is that our food or our nutrition, our diet, as a long term, we're not looking at that in a singular focus of weight loss or just for hormones or just for something in particular, just for performance, just for something. Okay, so whilst we can very much dive into that, so specific nutrition for hormones, specific nutrition for digestive, specific nutrition for weight loss, we very much can do that. But I want us over this challenge specifically is to get your head around visualizing and taking the mental stress or the mental overwhelm of that, of learning the intricates, and to just see nutrition and food as part of your complete health plan. So, you know, that, alarm's going off. Bugger, that's snoozing. So that instead of you getting caught up over eating the one muffin or eating the one chocolate bar, or you were out to lunch on Sunday and had a meal that was not ideal. So we're not looking at those individual pieces. So yes, if you had a massive weight loss goal that you need to get do really quickly, which I highly don't recommend anyway, but then you might be more specific around that. But we want to look at that mental state of a complete health plan, of food being part of a complete health plan, because the stress that you endure for yourself or create upon yourself around a specific food that you had or a specific meal. Now, if you're having those kind of meals and foods every day, that's the issue. This is the complete health plan that we're looking at. But if you have something like that as a one-off, the stress or the beating yourself up over it is going to create more havoc from a health perspective within the body than the muffin that you ate. So say it's whatever day it is. It's Thursday. We're going out for coffee with a girlfriend that we haven't seen for ages. We don't do it every week. Ideally, having coffee with your girlfriends every week is recommended. But say we're going out for coffee, and you order a cake with your coffee. That then, leaving that conversation, instead of feeling so nourished and so lit up from the amazing conversations, the connection that you've had, the invigorating, that inspiring, that fulfilled mental state that you have of walking away from that conversation, having had a coffee and a muffin, will be totally overrun if you walk away beating yourself up over eating a muffin, okay? And the hormonal impact of eating that muffin versus the stress that you're putting on yourself and the beating yourself up over eating that muffin is going to be far worse than just the muffin that you ate and going, okay, yep, all right, let's move on, okay? Right, so that's the first one. As a complete health plan, we're looking at the mental state around food, critical. Second part to that is not using food as a punishment or reward. So again, this comes into a mental state, and this flows into exercise, not using exercise or them both interchangeably together as a punishment for the food that you ate. This is a really negative connotation. So, and like we see this even with gym instructors, you know, with clients and things like that, and using this with clients, which is not okay. The mental state around this is not okay. So go like eating that muffin and then, all right, I'm going to have to do, you know, an extra half an hour cardio to burn off that muffin, to burn off the calories that I had with that muffin. Okay. No. All right. We don't use the food or the exercise and as a punishment either. Okay. So there's, the same kind of thing. There's like, we could dive in forever around all the different emotions and foods, so using the guilt, the comfort eating, all of those kinds of things. So there can be quite the psychology to work around through that. But in itself, when we're sort of focusing on this as a health plan, we want to make sure that we're seeing food as it is, just as it is. It's a food. The food itself isn't good, isn't bad. You're not good or bad for eating or not eating that food. But shifting that mindset to be that, I'm feeling really nourished, and this food is so nourishing and deeply replenishing and healing, and visualizing that food as medicine, as healing for the body, and the mind and the soul. Okay, so working around your mindset, I suppose, around food is also quite a big deal. Now, if this is a really big issue for you, so again, drop in the comments, let me know if you're like, oh yes, please dive deeper into this over the next couple of weeks. If this is something that you need to work on, keep it really simple and go step by step. So the first part of that is to acknowledge when you do that and as you're doing it. Okay, so and this is kind of around anything really. So when you're trying to improve something around that, the first step is acknowledging when you do that. So if you eat the muffin and then later on that day you're at the gym, you're like, I need to do an extra kind of acknowledge, go, oh, hang on a minute. What was I doing when I ate that muffin? Was I feeling so fulfilled because I was having an amazing conversation with someone and it was really cool? Did I mindlessly eat that muffin? Or so you need to have a look around the circumstances that you consumed the food that you're feeling guilty for, or is the issue, or the situation that is the issue around that, and just acknowledge that. Note it down in your journal. Just keep notes on it and think about the whole, not just the food itself and that you ate it, but think about the whole, what was going on at that time, what emotions were you feeling. Look at all of the triggers and everything that goes along with that muffin. Okay. Wow. Who realized we were going to get so in depth around a muffin? But this is what I want you to be able to have the muffin and not beat yourself up over it. Okay. All right. So there's quite the mindset around food. So if that's something that you feel like you need to dive deeper into, or that you would like us to dive deeper into, please, again, let us know and we will cover, drop some few things in there over the next coming weeks for you to use. Okay, next up, let's talk nutrition and calories. Let me have a sip of water before I bombard you with another. Okay, nutrition and calories. So nutrition versus calories. It's kind of a big one. I'm really big on not counting calories. And because of the difference between calories and nutrients. Okay, so we're looking at the nutrient density of foods versus calories. So nutrient density, and you will hear me always talking about nutrients and what foods contain and the different kind of nutrients and the benefits these foods are going to give you as a whole, opposed to how many calories are in a food and that kind of thing. So, and I see things pop up from other coaches, health coaches or trainers and things like that say that this piece of avocado is this many calories, the piece of Nutella toast is half the amount of calories. So just eat the Nutella toast, the piece of Nutella toast, because it's way less calories and you're trying to lose weight. Okay, whilst there is some truth to a calorie deficit and exercise and weight loss, it is not the sole reason, and it is not the only reason. So I more so work with loads of clients who struggle with weight loss, but are eating so little calories that their body can barely function. So we need 1,200 calories a day just to basal body state. Like, okay, so your what you're doing on a daily basis is going to impact that. And I don't mean hitting the gym 3 times a week or, you know, smashing yourself at workouts. It's the incidental exercise, what your day-to-day living looks like. What, you know, are you choosing to get up and walk around in the office, or do you sit at the desk all day? Okay, all of these things play a role. And so just looking at the calorie content of foods, okay, let's stop that. Sorry. Just looking at the calorie content of foods and not the nutrient density is a huge issue. So when I talk nutrient density of foods, we're talking about the vitamins, the minerals, the phytonutrients, macronutrients. We're looking at other health promoting elements that make up this particular food. So, you know, collagen and all these other kinds of things. And I'm looking at the function of those nutrients. So I'm looking at what that's going to support within the body. Is that going to support and enhance cognitive function? We need fats. The brain is majority fats. So we need good quality fats for the brain to be functioning, for the brain to be firing, and to be avoiding and to not living in a state of avoidance of illness or avoidance of brain fog, but to be moving towards optimal health, or moving towards promoting that next level of health. So if you're constantly walking along trying to avoid being sick or trying to avoid bad foods, you're always looking back. You're always like, I need to avoid this, versus looking forward to like, I want that next level of health. I want that rich collagen. I want that strong, resilient body. Okay, so that difference between moving towards the good versus avoiding the bad, there's a big difference in that. And there's a big difference in the mental. Don't follow me for brain fog advice today. There's a big difference in that mental and emotional state of those two situations. The same thing essentially, but really different focus. Okay. So we want to really pay attention to the nutrient density of foods, and their function in the body. So we're looking at quality. Quality is a really big deal. And I'm looking into and trying to put together some resources that will be helpful for people with the inflation prices of everything going crazy at the moment. That, you know, it's already feels like a punishment to attempt to be healthy, but when we talk financial comparison, that there's a big deal of not being healthy and spending a lot of time and money on other areas of your life. So although it feels hard to put those resources into, or it may feel hard, it feels easy, but to put those resources, financial resources, into your health will pay off in the long term a million times, versus spending that money in other areas. Okay, so nutrient density, that overview. We're looking at the nutrient density, the quality of the food that we're eating, and we're looking at what the food is giving us body, or the result of what we're getting from those foods, versus calories, which is only looking at energy in, energy out. So if we're looking at just the calories and we're looking at calorie consumption or calorie deficit for weight loss, the amount of calories that you can consume in, like, less calories in a cheeseburger than there is in an avocado. So you could eat, you know, a whole avocado in a day, and that's your calories, or you could eat 5 cheeseburgers in a day, and then you've got less calories. Okay, yep. And the concept around that is that you're going to lose weight because it is less calories. That might be so in the short term if you were, then hitting the gym. So that may work in the short term, but the cost of that to you is going to be your brain function, your clarity, starting from the top down. So the clarity, the brain fog, the choices that you make, then heading down to the body, you're going to be more prone to injury. You're going to age not so well. It's going to be terrible for the collagen in the body. You are going to possibly feel quite bloated, start to have digestive issues, not to mention the hormones. Okay, versus, so that all the issues that we're going to have with cheeseburgers versus eating the avocado that, yes, might be more calories, but it's also going to help with the brain function because it's good fats for the brain. It's going to be healthy for our hormones. It's going to be more sustainable energy. You're not going to get the crash and burn. Okay, so nutrition versus calories. As a bit of a brief overview, you will always see me, and I will never stray from this, to pay attention to the nutrient density and the nutrients in foods versus calories. I'm not sure that you would ever really hear me talk about calories. I can't think of any reason why I would start diving deep into that. My values really stick with the nutritional content and health focus around the foods that you're eating. So I want foods that are going to give me 10 times the benefits in this much food versus 10 times less calories in this one, if that makes sense. Okay. So if this sounds in alignment for you, then you're in the right place. Again, drop some comments. If you want me to kind of start to dive a little bit deeper into certain foods and certain nutrients and things like that in foods, then yeah, again, drop in the comments, let me know, and it'll be something that I'll touch on over the next coming weeks for you guys as well. Okay. Okay, so next we have got gut health. I feel like it's sort of woven into a lot of what we talk about anyway, even though I might not specifically reference that. But here we're talking about the nutritional impact or food impact on gut health, the gut microbiome, gut-brain axis. So basically everything that we consume is going to affect the whole body in some way or another. And whether that's positively or negatively, everything that we consume is going to have an impact. And again, some bigger than others, and it's going to depend on the load and the frequency. Okay, so again, if you're having that one-off muffin, it's not gluten-free, not dairy-free, not sugar-free, it's got all the things, right? It tastes amazing. We've just had this amazing conversation with a girlfriend. Then it's great. Then that is not going to have as much, and that's not going to have all these negative impacts, and you will work that off by going for a walk with her afterwards and having a chat. She'll feel great. That is going to be have a positive impact on the body as a whole. Okay, versus the having a muffin every day or having kind of bad foods every day, then this is going to restructure the gut microbiome. So the gut, it's going to have an impact on the gut health, as in the whole digestive system and that process, which can be very taxing on the body and very energy expensive for us. And so it's going to have that version of an impact, but then it's also going to have an impact on the gut microbiome, and so all of the bacteria inside the gut. So the more that we feed that bacteria, or the prebiotics and probiotics, maybe I should explain that first. So the probiotics are what populates the gut bacteria, and prebiotics feed that gut bacteria. Okay, so when we're constantly consuming foods that are not going to promote health within the body, the cheeseburgers, the muffins, then this is going to kill off those good bacteria in the gut microbiome because they're not being fed, and it's going to feed and nourish the bad bacteria that's in the gut. We do need a balance of that good and bad bacteria. I'm using that very loosely because it's not necessarily bad bacteria, but it's non-health promoting bacteria. We do need both in the gut, but we really need that balance. And when that's out of balance, that's when we feel out of homeostasis. That's when we can see all of these different kind of effects that can come through the skin. It can present as skin rashes, as eczemas, as things like that. It can pose as brain fog, as breakouts. It can be digestive issues. It can be recurring inflammation within the body, pain, aches, lower back pain. All of these kinds of things can stem from an imbalance that's going on in the gut. Okay. Again, that's one we could dive into like for hours, but it really can get quite specific in certain areas. When we think of nutrition as our health plan, so I want to bring it back to looking at nutrition and food as part of your overall health plan, as that complete health plan, we want to consider having that balance of good, bad bacteria. Mainly you want to work on the good bacteria because the bad will kind of balance out itself. So we want to, with things, so it's going to balance out itself with things that you can't avoid. Okay, so I'll add that in, with things that you can't avoid. So if you're going out for dinner, you can't control that they're not using vegetable oils, canola oils, and things like that. Okay, so that's where you kind of going to get that balance of that bacteria. The good bacteria that you do want to really feed and nourish, that is what we're going to that is what you want to focus on. So as the complete health plan, we're just thinking when we're eating food, when we're consuming that good food, we are feeding our little gut bacteria, or we are populating those healthy gut bacteria, and then in turn they're going to reward us by sending happy, healthy homeostasis signals all over the body. Okay, beautiful. Still with me? Are you still with me? Do I have I don't have the chat box up. Sorry if you guys are jumping in the chat box. I do apologize because I can't see what's going on in there. I'm not sure how to do it without getting out of the video. I think I do after doing quite a lot of things. Okay, so let's talk practicality. How to include more nutrients and increase nutrient density into your meals consistently. Okay, so I want to keep this really simple for you because this is really about creating and maintaining those really healthy habits. And I want them to become so ingrained that they're just part of your lifestyle, which they are for us. And these are a few ways that we do that. I have a little list, which you'll see in the recipes. You'll see that list of optional extras or optional adds. And it's in the snacks ebook as well that I dropped in. In there, I've got a list of foods. So I have this list of high nutrient dense foods or ingredients as such that have got a big bang for buck kind of nutrient hit. I've got these that I add to meals, foods, or toppers as much as possible, at least on a daily basis. Okay, so they're things like bone broth. Like, go for it. Bone broth, liver capsules, turmeric, sauerkraut or fermented vegetables. What else have I got off the top of my head? Those are kind of the ones that I've got key off the top of my head. And there's a few others in there that are listed. So I've got those big nutrient hard hitters. And with those, I am adding at least one of those, usually numerous, but I'm adding at least one of those to a meal every day. Okay, so, and it's getting so, this becomes just such a big part of the lifestyle. So when I'm cooking up mince, or when I'm cooking up whatever I'm cooking up for dinner, I always will grab, and I've got them on the shelf. They're in clear view because I want it to be, it's a lifestyle choice. I'm not hiding them anywhere. They're not in the back of the cupboard. I don't have to dig around my herbs and spices for them. I open my cupboard and they're on the shelf right there in front. Okay, I've got, all the different mushroom powders. I've got the turmeric, activated turmeric and things like that. The liver, it's all right there so that I can grab them and I can pop some liver capsules into the into our mince or steak sauce or whatever it is I'm doing. Like literally, like sauces, anything, scrambled eggs, whatever. And I grab, it's right there in front, or it's in the fridge, it's on the top shelf, it's right there. So I can grab some bone broth and add it into the scrambled eggs, whatever it is. So this is how we add more nutrients and increase the nutrient density of the foods that we eat consistently every day, is that I've got these staples, these absolute staples, not your breads and cereals that are staples in the old school food pyramid. No, these are our staples. We've got these that sit in the cupboard in the fridge and that we grab to add to every meal. Okay. Then I've got like the sauerkraut, the avocado, things like that that are there that I can dish up a meal and look at that, just that it becomes so habitual that you can look at a meal and go, oh, that just needs something else. Or what else can I add to that? Sauerkraut, a sprinkle of sauerkraut on top will go perfectly in that salad. A scoop of avocado will go perfectly in that salad. You know, anything like that. That is how you consistently choose nutrients to be a big part of the foods that you eat on a daily basis. Cool. This is, I could go, I pretty much, I feel like I've been talking about that same thing for years, but it truly is. And it's such an easy thing to come back to when everything else feels out of whack, when everything feels hard, when food's gone out the window. That is the easiest thing that you can do to bring extra nutrients, high nutrient density. So things that are going to promote. So the reason you want to add those in, it's going to promote certain aspects within the body. It's going to actively reduce inflammation in the body, aches and pains, things like that. It's actively going to enhance cognitive function, adding some lion's mane into your mince. Adding bone broth in, it's instantly going to start to boost your immune system. Okay, so all of these things are things that you can do to become healthier, and they're also so easy to implement for kids as well. And that is huge, absolutely huge, because that is a critical part of, I want this to be so ingrained in my kids' habits that they can then go on to do even more amazing things because they're not having to learn all of this from scratch. Okay, so how are we going now? Still with me? Is that easy enough? Is that dead set easy enough to add more nutrient density into your foods? Okay, next, how much to eat? Oh, the golden question, isn't it? How much food should I be eating? How much of each thing should I be eating? Okay, again, this truly is a golden question, but I believe so much in the individuality around this question that I would pose to you to change the question that you're asking, to shift your mindset around that question, to instead of asking how much food should I be eating, listen to your body, become intuitive around how much food you're eating. Yes, I can give you some guides, and I've dropped those in with my post earlier today. So check those out. So I do have some guides for you so that you can kind of assess if you are overeating, if you feel like you're overeating. But there's a whole world of that then to come into how much you're eating. When you're eating is just as good of a question. Okay, so here's a couple of questions for you to consider. If you're asking yourself, how much should I be eating? Am I eating too much food? How much should I be eating? I would be asking, or just as important a question is, when are you eating? What times of the day are you eating? How often are you eating? Because eating our breakfast, lunch, dinner, morning tea, afternoon tea, what's that, 5-6 meals a day is a very marketing approach to diets, to eating habits. This was created in modern society as a marketing tool for cereal companies, that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Okay, so I challenge you to consider when you're eating. So there's like all different things around fasting and things like that. It's not something I would suggest diving into unless we get together and have a chat about it, because it can be quite intricate as well. It's not just starving yourself, okay? That's really important to understand. And it can be quite intricate with women's hormones as well. So that is something, there's a bigger question around that too. So a few other questions that you might ask are my eating habits working for me? So are your eating habits working for you, or are you constantly putting on weight and not losing it? Okay, again, there's a whole bunch of other questions I'd be asking around that, like in relation to stress levels, things like that, the kinds of foods that you're eating. So are my eating habits working for me? Am I energized? Am I feeling energized? Am I waking up well rested? Am I sleeping well? How do I feel in the gut? How are my toileting habits? And digestive system, am I feeling bloated after eating? Really coming back to that intuitive, how do I feel eating what I'm eating now? Okay. So whilst again, this is part of your complete health plan, because if you're having sleep issues, I'd be looking at the food, I'd be looking at what time you're eating your food. If there's sleeping issues, that's a big correlation. I would be looking at how your lack of sleep is then influencing the food that you're eating, because you're opting more for that pick me up kind of foods. So again, this comes into a whole health plan, okay, which is what we want to achieve here. So we want to get the basics down pat. We want high nutrient density. We want to get everything else in check. So we want to get the stress levels in check. We want to get sleeping in check. And then you're going to chip away at each of them. So then you take the food to the next level. Then you take this area to the next level. So you're focusing on one area at a time, but you want them all to be relevant. If you are hammering your food habits, but your stress levels are through the roof, and you're wondering why your food habits are not bringing you the results you want, but your sleep is crappy, your stress is through the roof, you're not incorporating any breathing strategies, it doesn't matter what you eat. You're not going to get the results that you want if you're not looking at the whole lot. Okay, still with me? All right, last one. Eating styles. So ditch the rules and use as a guide. I'm all about breaking rules. And you might hear me probably saying this a little bit more publicly coming up after doing a bit of human design work. So if you haven't looked into that, it's so much fun. But looking into the human design, my human design work. So as a manifesting generator, rules are something that it must have been a manifesting generator that said rules were made to be broken. I'm sure that statement has come from a manifesting generator, because we are all about making our own rules, breaking rules, or maybe using rules as a guideline as such. Or maybe we're the ones that set the rules. So ditching the rules, all the food rules, and using them as a guide. Okay, so whilst I'm all about this, so I'm all about getting it into check and, that balance around food, I'm probably more sitting in the 95 to 5 rule opposed to the 80-20 rule when it comes to food. Okay, so once you get to that part where it is going really good and it flows really well, you won't want to sabotage yourself. You won't want to be eating those. You will choose, and you will get enjoyment and find enjoyment out of choosing better options off the menu when you go out for dinner. You will have enjoyment around that. I do. So a few eating styles that we, use as guidelines as such. So we don't follow any of these to a T. We don't follow any rules around food, but we do pick and choose elements of these that we use. And then we also use them at specific times. So day to day, we generally follow a paleo type diet as such. And the reason for that is that the paleo basis pretty much eliminates inflammatory foods. So that's the point of that, is that it eliminates all your processed foods. It eliminates your, highly processed stuff, your sugars. glutens. It does eliminate dairy. However, we do still incorporate some dairy in our diet because we tolerate that okay. So we use it as a guideline. We don't follow it strictly to a T, but I find if I'm ever looking up recipes for something and I type in paleo first, I know that I'm not going to have to modify the recipe a million times to suit how we would like to eat it or to make it a healthier version. So if I put paleo first, it's mostly done for me then. I also know that the oils won't be in there. So your canola, vegetable, sunflower, all your highly processed, chemically extracted oils won't be in the foods as well. So it's only going to use your organic cold pressed olive oils, butter, ghee, so all your good fats, coconut oil, that kind of thing. So that's a big one for me. So paleo we find pretty easy to follow. And again, as a guideline, then sometimes we can implement keto, now very small. So we would only implement that when we're implementing the fasting. So we don't follow a keto-based diet or anything like that. You won't see me out there preaching high fats or anything like that. But the body, when we do intermittent fasting, which we incorporate a little bit, probably not so much at the moment because I'm breastfeeding and that requires lots of food. So yeah, not sure away. It has its place. But when that's something that I'm incorporating, and Matt does incorporate intermittent fasting regularly. So when we're doing that, you need the body, or you want the body to be in a state of ketosis to actually activate and get the benefits of the intermittent fasting. So that's not reducing calories. It's just reducing the time frame that you're eating the same amount of calories. So we're still eating the same amount of foods that we would in a day, except instead of having breakfast and dinner down here and up here, we're eating the same amount of foods in a smaller window, and that's going to enhance digestion and allow for more repair to happen in the body, because the digestive system is very energy expensive. So it utilizes a lot of energy within the body. So the body will stop repairing muscles and, stop helping the aging, helping along with anti-aging and collagen repair and things like that when you eat, because it's coming back and going, okay, all resources on board, we're digesting more food. And if you're constantly eating and snacking, you're constantly digesting food. So when we close that window of still eating the same amount of food, the body has time to actually digest those foods and then go into a state of repair and work through the repair phase in the body. It helps to balance hormones. So then it's going to go into repairing, balancing hormones. It's going to go into muscle repair, tissue repair, all of that kind of stuff before you start eating again. So that's kind of a little bit of an overview of why we would use intermittent fasting in some cases. So yeah, opposed to the, very mainstream approach to that. All right. I hope this has been really insightful for you. Not your typical mainstream kind of nutrition talk, but I hope this powerfully, or gives you the power, empowers you to make choices around you and your family's health and wellness for the long term, not just for these 8 weeks. Okay, have an amazing day. And I really look forward to hearing your feedback on this one.